Jaxson Dart is already shooting up draft boards. Jaxson Dart, New York Jets at pick 7. Well, rumors circulating certainly indicate that Jaxson Dart is in play for the New York Jets with the 7th overall pick. You guys know I'm certainly not a fan, but let's get Matt O'Leary's thoughts, who will be joining us today on the show. First time of the offseason in his weekly spot, all coming up here on a Wednesday edition of NY Flight Jets Talk.
Jets, Jets, let's go.
Jets wide receiver Wesley Walker. Wesley, how you doing today? ESPN writer Mr. Rich Cimini, Jets reporter for The Athletic, Mr. Zach Rosenblatt, Hall of Famer and Jets legend Mr. Marty Lyons.
Your host, Connor Law.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back into another edition of NY Flight Jets Talk here on Wednesday, February 19th, 2025. I appreciate you all tuning in. Make sure you smash that like button and you are subscribed to the channel. It's completely free and helps us grow significantly. Less than 400 subscribers away from 2,000. We're trying to hit that milestone by the start of the NFL draft. So like I said, though, like and subscribe, free way to contribute and helps us grow significantly. The paid way, I'm going to throw the ticker on down below, is helping contribute to our membership raffle. Every membership gifted or $2.99 super chat will get you a ticket into our raffle. Joe Klecko signed jersey, Mark Gastineau signed jersey, Bill Parcells signed photo, free item from our merch store channel. Emoji among the prizes we're giving away this month. Appreciate you tuning in. Any questions for Matt and I, throw them in the chat. If you want to call into the show, you can do so by clicking the pinned comment at the top of the chat. But let's bring on our guy Matt O'Leary, who did pregame shows weekly throughout the entire season, and now super happy we're able to continue not so much the momentum here, Matt, after a disastrous season, but happy we're able to do this on a weekly basis in the offseason. Appreciate you, Matt.
Absolutely. Yeah. Excited to come on and talk some NFL draft right about now.
For sure, Matt, we're going to get right into it with the Jaxson Dart topic. Jaxson Dart being linked to the Jets, certainly in play at the 7th overall pick from what we're hearing, and I'll call it how it is. I'm not a fan of Jaxson Dart at pick 7 whatsoever. Matt, I don't know where you are on Dart, but I am very low, actually, compared to a lot of people. I have him as my quarterback 5 right now in the draft, and the more I look into Dylan Gabriel, who I have as my quarterback 6 as of now, that could certainly change. I just think he's someone who is, who's very slow to read defenses after the snap. He's running a quarterback friendly offense. He doesn't know what it's like to be a part of a pro level system. Lane Kiffin is known to scheme receivers open. I don't get the fascination with Jaxson Dart. Is it because he has, aura, the charisma? Reminds me a lot of Zach Wilson here, Matt.
So I'm with you. I don't like the play at 7 at all. It's a completely different story if you get him in the 3rd round. And I don't think I would be complaining about drafting any of these guys. For me, I think in this draft class with the quarterbacks, there's 2 guys who are a tier above the rest of this crop. And pretty much quarterback 3 through 7, I think are pretty interchangeable. And I just don't know how you could justify spending the 7th overall pick on someone who's really going to be a work in progress. His mechanics need a lot of work. He's not very mechanically sound. He has a good arm. I'm not going to completely discredit him. I think he gets away with a lot of things because of how good his arm is. But he needs work. And with the 7th overall pick, I think there's going to be unfair expectations put on him that I just don't think he's ready for.
Agree. Great point there, Matt. Another thing with Dart that I found really interesting, when pressure bears down, he really struggles, and he, tries to be Superman at times and try to make these big plays to, escape pressure, and it ultimately fails at times. I agree with you. I think it's too much of a risk at 7. Certainly, I'm going to be honest. I don't even feel comfortable taking him with the 42nd overall pick in the 2nd round. I think there are some really, really solid prospects that should be available when the Jets are on the clock at 42nd. Whether somehow Jahad Campbell, the linebacker out of Alabama, is able to fall. The run-stuffing interior defensive lineman T.J. Sanders from South Carolina is on the board. Xavier Watts, safety out of Notre Dame. Matt, the hype for Cam Ward, trade up for Cam. The campaign is underway. Are you on board? Or are you taking a step back there?
No, and I probably like Cam Ward the best out of this quarterback class, and I think he would be the best fit for the Jets out of these quarterbacks. But I can't justify giving up the trade package it would take to get up to number 1 to take him. I don't like him to that extent. If for whatever reason he fell to the Jets at 7, this is a different conversation that we could have. But I think the Jets still have a lot of holes that they need to fill. and they need the draft picks in the second and third round in order to do that. They need a tight end. They need safety help. They need receiver help. They need interior defensive line. You could just go right down the checklist. There's a lot. And I understand that quarterback's important, but I think we're much more likely to see a veteran stopgap option for a year than we are to see the Jets make a aggressive play for one of the top quarterbacks in this draft.
Look, Matt, for me, Cam Ward is my quarterback one, and I think Cam Ward has potential to be a solid quarterback at the next level, but quarterback one in this year's class isn't really saying much, in my opinion. I think, people are saying it's a weak quarterback class, but I think it's even weaker than a lot of people are saying. You mentioned taking Cam Ward if he's there at 7. Would that concern you at all, though, that all these teams that need quarterbacks, whether it's the Titans, the Giants, the Raiders, they're all passing on Cam, and he's still there at 7? Does that concern you at all?
Not really, because I think you have to do your own evaluations, and I would trust this regime with that call on drafting him 7th overall. I would be stunned if he made it that far, to be honest with you, because like you said, there are a lot of needy teams. Plus, there's teams further back that would likely be calling to trade up to draft someone like that, I would imagine. So I don't think it's very likely that we see a world where Cam Ward's sitting there at 7, but if that was the case, no, I'm not necessarily nervous because the teams in front of the Jets passed on him.
Everyone smash the like button. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Greatly appreciate all your support. Matt O'Leary, Connor Long here with you guys on NY Flight Jets Talk. Any questions for Matt and I, throw them in the chat. If you want to call into the show, you can do so by clicking the pinned comment at the top of the chat. We'll start this comment. We'll start with this question here from our guy, Italian Eddie Ralph says, bring in Danny Dimes. At least check in on him. Matt, I think, a second reunion for Daniel Jones and the New York media would be disastrous, in my opinion, to say the very least. I'd put him in that same category, personally, of going after a Kirk Cousins, a Mac Jones, someone of that nature. I'm pretty low on Daniel Jones. At that point, I'd rather pay Taylor Heineke $2.5 million, someone I think who's an underrated name, to come in, trade a day 3 pick for someone like Malik Willis, who's 26 years old and has a ton of upside. I'm not on the Daniel Jones train here.
No, that's someone else who tends to miss a lot of time with injury. Like everyone gets on Tyrod Taylor because, he can't play a full season healthy. And then, Daniel Jones has played a 16-game season once in his career. It's time just about every other year. And I just don't think he's really all that effective as a passer. Good rusher, but I think he's fine in Minnesota as a backup.
Let's see. Where were we? Dixon comes in. He says, I want Howard at quarterback. Matt, I'm really high on Will Howard. He's actually my quarterback 2 in this year's class ahead of Shadur Sanders. I have an early round 2 grade on him. Cam Ward's the only quarterback this year I have a first round grade on. Thoughts on potentially taking Will Howard? He's obviously, in my opinion, not going to go in the second round. I think NFL teams are going to view him as a third round guy, but someone who, very, very accurate. Not all that athletic, but he's able to get by, in my opinion, at the NFL level. Most importantly for me, Matt, is you're able to plug and play and throw him right into an NFL offensive scheme, because that's what he was running in the past few seasons at Ohio State with Chip Kelly as his offensive coordinator. Thoughts at, taking a dart throw with Will Howard here?
Yeah, I don't mind it. I don't like him as much as you do. I think he's probably a late day 2, early day 3 guy, so 3rd or 4th round. And look, like every single quarterback you take a swing on is a risk, but especially when you get outside of the first round, it gets significantly harder to find a guy. But the things that I like from him is he's started a ton of games,
over 1,800 dropbacks at a college level.
Right. So he has a ton of experience. And like you said, he ran a pro style offense in college. I think that helps his chances. And I think it's worthwhile of a mid-round swing on a guy like that.
Matt, where are you on Kyle McCord, the quarterback out of Syracuse? I have him as my quarterback. Let's see. I have him as my quarterback 4 this year, just ahead of Jaxson Dart. Jaxson Dart is my quarterback 5 in this year's draft class. So that just goes to show, again, how low I am on Dart. Thoughts on McCord? Reminds me a lot of Jared Goff. Again, mobility somewhat of a concern, but very, very accurate as a pocket passer and a great deep ball.
Yeah, he's another one who's played a lot of college football too. He's a transfer, which I think is a plus for him. I have him in a similar tier to Will Howard, so somewhere between the 3rd or 4th round. I don't really have a strong opinion on one over the other. I kind of put them in a similar box. So whichever one Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn prefer, I'm okay with.
Matt, I want to move over back out of the NFL draft, and I want to transition to the news that came away of Connor Hughes of SNY the other day, stating the Jets are expected to move on from Morgan Moses. Matt, I want your thoughts here on this move. Personally, I'm not a fan of it by any means. Morgan Moses is someone you could bring back for around $5 million next year. It doesn't even have to be as a starter. He could be a backup trying to help groom, the franchise's next right tackle. Great locker room guy, great leader. Feels like someone who Aaron Glenn would kind of want in this building to help, which is a relatively young offensive line.
Yeah, it is. And I would like Morgan Moses back too. I wonder if this is coming from his side, though. At 33 years old, he's probably only has a couple more years in the league at most. And I think it's likely that he wants to move on and play for a contender. That would be my guess, because if it is from the Jet side that they don't want the reunion, I think that makes a little bit less sense.
Matt, Justin Fields, New York Jets, mutual interest. We heard from Jeremy Fowler, called him a sleeper option, said him and the Jets have mutual interest. Thoughts on potentially bringing Justin Fields in here? I view him as a top free agent this offseason. The problem is, how much is he going to ask for? If it's 1 year, $8 million, sure. But if he's asking, we're talking 3 years, $20 million, I'm staying away from that.
Yeah, I think it would likely be a 1-year deal. I saw PFF, I think, does a really good job with the contract projections. They're usually pretty close, and they had his projected deal at 1 year, $15 million, which I think sounds about right for his caliber. I think the Jets might go on the cheaper side than necessarily spending that kind of money on a stopgap quarterback. But I do think Fields has the highest upside of anyone available, because you're kind of hoping that he turns into the next, Baker Mayfield or Geno Smith or Sam Darnold from this past year, where it finally clicks for them later in their career on their third or fourth different team. And at least he has the rushing ability. So the offense would look completely different than what we were used to. I think the mutual interest makes sense, because he'd have a good chance to start in competition with Tyrod Taylor. And I do think he's one of the better options. I don't know if he's my favorite, but he's towards the top of the list.
Matt, thoughts on the Jets potentially trying to orchestrate a trade to get their next quarterback in the building? Malik Willis from the Green Bay Packers is a name I tabbed as an underrated option. Someone who was pretty inconsistent, only had 3 starts, though. Let's be fair with him. The team he was drafted by in the 3rd round with the Tennessee Titans. And then he comes into Green Bay this past season and does a very effective job backing up Jordan Love. I think he went 2-0 in 2 starts, appeared in 7 games. He's going to be 26 years old. Can't hurt to take a flyer on a guy like Willis, in my opinion, if it just means, giving up a 5th-round pick in 2026. Let's keep in mind here, Willis was traded for a 7th-rounder last offseason, so maybe his value's boosted by a round or two, but I can't expect, the Packers are going around asking for top dollar out of a guy like Malik Willis.
Yeah, and they sheltered him a little bit in his starts, or in the significant amount of games that he played. 19 was the most amount of passes that he threw. 19, 14, and 13 in the 3 games that he played the most for Green Bay this past year. It's not a horrible option. He's on the younger side. He looked okay in the limited snaps that he played in 2024. My answer would be, it depends on the cost. And if you're saying a 5th-round pick in a future draft class, I think that's a worthy option.
Matt, this is what I threw in my Jets X Factor article. I said a conditional 6th-round pick in 2026, which could become a 5th if Willis plays 60% of the Jets' offensive snaps in 2025. I think that's a fair asking price, because you mentioned they kind of sheltered him from throwing the football, but at the same time, he isn't as accomplished as Justin Fields at the NFL level yet, but a similar skill set. They're both going to be 26 years old, both dual threat type guys. So you're telling me it only costs a day 3 pick you have to give up to give Malik Willis an opportunity to battle it out for the starting job. I'm all for it. Matt, you mentioned the Jets trying to go a cheaper route in free agency when it comes to the quarterback position. What exactly does that look like?
I think like a name that I think would make sense would be like Jameis Winston. I think he got like a $4 or $5 million contract. Someone in that realm. Taylor Heineke's a name that you mentioned.
I really like Taylor Heineke for cheap.
Derek Carr, if they end up
Oh
moving
my
on
God.
from the Saints. It's, these are the names that are going to be circled around, and I don't know how different those guys would be ceiling wise than what Fields' floor would be. So I think it's not a huge gap between that crop.
Matt, what are your thoughts overall on Jameis Winston? Someone who's at least going to be exciting from a personality standpoint. He's going to throw a lot of touchdowns, but he's also going to throw a lot of interceptions. At that point, I would rather just pay Taylor Heineke $2 million, $2.5 million. Someone who has a connection to Scott Turner on the Jets offensive staff, who's been a 500 quarterback throughout the entirety of his career.
I don't mind Heineke. I think he's an underrated option, but
Mhm.
I kind of like the Jameis option. I know
Okay.
that turnovers are definitely a problem, but I think the Jets offense would be significantly more explosive with him. He at least likes to push the ball down the field. And yeah, there's a lot of, back-breaking mistakes at times. But for me, I'm banking on upside with that one. Um, and just hoping that we get to see Garrett Wilson go off for like a 1,400-yard season.
For sure. Dixon comes back in and says there was some speculation about Mason Rudolph. I don't want anything to do with him. Matt, Mason Rudolph, another free agent. The whole thing, Myles Garrett whacking him with the helmet in the Steelers Browns game just a few years ago. I think it was 1-4. It was in 5 starts with the Titans this past season. I don't want to go near Mason Rudolph again. Just a guy like Taylor Heineke, I would take over him. He's for me again. Mason Rudolph is a guy in the realm of Kirk Cousins for me. You might as well just pay Kirk Cousins at that point.
Yeah, because at least Kirk has higher upside. Now, I think Kirk is done because of the injury, but at least you can sell
Okay.
yourself on this guy when healthy is a middle of the pack quarterback. Mason Rudolph, I think he's an okay backup, but there's even backup quarterbacks that I like more than Mason Rudolph, like Heineke, who you mentioned. Cooper Rush, honestly, as a backup
Mm,
quarterback, I think is
yeah.
better than Mason Rudolph. So he'd be pretty low on my list, I think.
Matt, thoughts on Sam Howell? That's a name I've been hearing as a potential trade option. He has the connection, obviously, to the new Jets quarterback coach, Charles London. Then he also has the connection to Scott Turner, the Jets passing game coordinator. He was traded for a 5th-round pick last offseason. I think he's 5-13 as a starter across his career. Hasn't been all that efficient. I mean, why not give him an opportunity to compete for the job if the Jets are getting really desperate here?
It depends on what the trade cost would be for me. I believe he's entering the last year of his rookie deal, right? So it's not that he would
Uh-huh.
be crazy expensive. And, I think I would go after Sam Howell in the scenario that like they believe Tyrod can be the starter. And a quarterback room with Tyrod, Sam Howell, and either Jordan Travis or let's say a mid-round rookie, I think you can get by because Sam Howell could come in and play some games for you. He's going to throw a lot of picks too, but
Yeah.
he at times has had explosive games.
Here's my thing. I want Tyrod Taylor to be the day one starter. The whole reason we're talking about drafting a guy, signing a backup, is because Tyrod Taylor can never stay healthy. Matt, what do you think is the appropriate amount of games? Let's say Tyrod Taylor is the week one starter for the Jets. Ultimately, what I think will happen. Do you think we could see 7, 8 starts out of him, even 9, 10? I think that's pretty much the ceiling that we're looking at here. Maybe 11, 12 if you get really, really lucky.
Yeah, that's a really hard question to answer because
Hmm.
each one of his injuries they're unrelated. It's not like the same thing
Yeah.
keeps coming up. But he does have injury history, so it is a concern. I would think maybe like 12 games would be my guess, but if
Okay.
you think 12 games from Tyrod and then another 5 from a Sam Howell type of quarterback,
Yeah.
a Cooper Rush kind of quarterback, I think you could survive offensively.
We'll get this question from Courtney NJ here on the show. What round do we address right tackle? Matt, how do you think the Jets fill the right tackle position? Is it sliding AVT out to tackle, a move that I'm not a fan of, but fans have been talking about it now over the past few days after Moses, it's almost official that Morgan Moses is going to be parting ways with the Jets? Is it trying to draft someone, Gray Zabel out of North Dakota State? If they want to go, earlier in the draft, Hollins Pierce, the tackle out of Rutgers, is another name I heard. Ozzie Trapillo out of Boston College. How do the Jets not only address the right tackle need, but also provide some offensive line depth overall? Because that's also a need.
Yeah, it definitely is a need. I like the Boston College kid that you mentioned.
Yeah, Trapillo.
Um, I think because he has a lot of positional flexibility, but I think he could come in and play at right tackle. That's a second round guy, I would say. I don't
Hmm.
love the idea of adding right tackle in the first round, just because I think the most likely candidate to be there would be the LSU tackle, who'd be
Will Campbell.
moving from the left side to the right side of the line. So you're kind of shuffling some things around, and to be completely honest with you, there's other positions I think I'd like to address first
For
before
sure.
that in the first round. But I think you're looking at either in the second or third round at some sort of offensive lineman taken.
Matt, we'll end with this topic as we're on the topic of draft here before we let you go. Tyler Warren, Daniel Jeremiah, now 2 mock drafts in a row has listed him going at number 7 with the New York Jets. Is it too rich for the Jets to go after Warren at 7?
I don't think so. I think he's a really good football player. And you look at the tight end room, it's pretty much non-existent for this Jets team. Tyler
Yep.
Conklin's a free agent. Kenny Yeboah, same thing. Jeremy Ruckert hasn't developed like we thought he would after 3 years. They need a tight end desperately. And he is an elite level blocker and has a high ceiling as a pass catcher too. And he showed that off at Penn State in a lot of big games this year. I think he's a stud, and would it be a reach? I guess we could argue with it being a reach or not a reach, and you should have took Bowers last year, and on we go. But I would not be mad at all with a Tyler Warren selection. I think he's a great football player.
Also, Matt, the overall build, the way he's able to use his body at 6'6", 260 pounds, that standard build for an NFL tight end, I'm really impressed with him. The ideal scenario, I think, if the Jets were to draft Warren, is trading back a few spots, picking up a third-round pick, and then drafting him. But hey, depending on who's on the board, we're talking Ted McMillan, Mason Graham. They're both on the board, and then obviously the consensus options. The Jets can't find a partner to trade back with. I would be on board taking Tyler Warren at 7. I agree with everything you said there of tight end being a position of need. Tight end, certainly a position of need entering the draft. We spoke about the offensive line. I think you need to pick up at least one corner in the draft. I think you need to draft 2 safeties. So the Jets have a lot of holes entering this draft, unlike prior years. And, while tight end in the first round isn't known as, the old school attractive pick. But if push comes to shove and Tyler Warren, in my opinion, is the best player available on the board, I think the Jets should be able to pull the trigger. Appreciate you all tuning in. Smash the like, subscribe to the channel. Matt O'Leary, Connor Long here with you guys on NY Flight Jets Talk. I'll stay on a little longer here, answer your calls, take your calls, answer your questions. Matt, appreciate you hopping on. As always, you got any final thoughts here?
No, just excited to hop on with you and looking forward to do it again next week.
Ladies and gentlemen, Matt O'Leary checking in here on the show. Follow him on all social media platforms if you haven't already, but I'm sure you have, at Matt O'Leary NY, one of the best Jets content creators you will find. Appreciate you tuning in. Smash the like, subscribe to the channel. We have 40 of you guys watching here on YouTube, and we only have 20 likes. 20 of you have not hit the like button, so guys, please hit the like button. Subscribe, completely free, and helps us grow significantly. Keep the questions flowing. We'll get to those. If you want to call into the show, you can do so by clicking the pinned comment at the top of the chat. Let's go over to the phone lines. Our guy Gary is up first here on the show. Gary, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Connor. How are you?
Can't complain. Can't complain.
Great work. I love getting your content. You need
Appreciate
to not be in school more often. Let's all subscribe to the channel. Let's all get Connor
Appreciate you.
even more monetized so he can drop out of school at 13 and do this full time. I'm just kidding.
Appreciate you, Gary.
Great work, Connor.
Thank you.
So I got a couple of thoughts, all in the quarterback position. I know you were a get rid of Rodgers guy.
Yes.
Have you got what you wanted now? We're talking about bringing in Sam Howell. That was the name I heard. Tyler Henneke. Is this what you wanted?
It's not, Gary, for the long-term future of this team. Yes, that's what I wanted. I instill faith in Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji to make the right decision out of the gate. And I think moving on from Aaron Rodgers is the best option. You get rid of all the distractions. Most importantly, I don't think you can run a pro-level offensive scheme with the guy. We're talking about someone who's 41 years old, soon to be 42. He's an immobile NFL quarterback, and I just don't think he fits the modern-day NFL anymore.
I don't necessarily disagree with, okay, the offense, his play, his style of play is no longer fitting. I just can't think of a better guy to replace him with. I was okay with replacing him.
Yeah, you can't think of
then we gotta go with him then. If there's no better name, then you have to stick with him.
Gary, let me ask you a question. Would you pay Geno Smith $49 million to be your quarterback next year, and then he's not going to play in 2026, and you're still going to have to pay him $63 million? Yes or no?
No, but
You wouldn't say Aaron Rodgers then.
Okay, fine. But okay,
Exactly.
let you
See,
have
the
to
best option is to move on.
you have to restructure the deal. If he was willing to restructure, which I don't
We
know
don't
if he was
know.
or he wasn't. Right, I don't know if he was or he wasn't.
Exactly.
But he's took the biggest pay cut in the history of football, right? Why would he not be willing to restructure? To me, it's an ego play. He's made $350 million just in his playing career, not from the discount double check commercials, right? Just from his football career, he's made $350 million. He's not married. He has no kid. The legacy all ends with him. It can't be just about money, right? It's got to be about legacy. He's one of the greatest to ever do it, top 5 or 10 by any count. Do you think this is how he wants to end his legacy with the Jets, the biggest media market in the world? Do you think this is how he wants to end it?
No, but it's not his choice.
But okay, so he'd be willing to play ball to fix his legacy, is what I'm saying. So if it means taking a pay cut,
yes, potentially, but we don't know. We don't know the exact details. There was some report that came out from the New York Post that was a little. I said if he becomes the lowest paid quarterback in all of football with an AAV of $22.5 million, I will take him back. And if he has a good conversation with Aaron Glenn, we still don't know the specific details of what went down. Was he willing to take a pay cut? Some people are saying he was pleading to come back. Others said, he wanted to move on himself and he wanted to, go off into a new chapter, whether it's retiring or finding a new team. My question to you, Gary, someone who wants Aaron Rodgers back, correct me if I'm wrong here, were there any games where Aaron Rodgers beat a top 10 defense? Were there any games where he really, held his own or took a really, really solid football team down to the wire? He had a 33-game drought of not being able to throw for over 300 passing yards. I feel like a lot of people who wanted Aaron Rodgers back forget about 14 games of the season, and they remember taking the Miami Dolphins to overtime, a bottom 10 defense, beating the Jacksonville Jaguars, a bottom 5 defense, and then beating the Miami Dolphins again in Week 18, a bottom 5 defense. People also forget, I had Joe Caporoso on from Badlands. I keep reiterating this point that he made. He didn't want Rodgers back either. Imagine if that 40-14 game, the loss to Buffalo, was switched with the Week 18 win. And what was a Week 18 win was in Week 17, and then the Jets ended their season losing 40-14 on the road in Buffalo. No, not nowhere near this many people would have wanted Rodgers to come back. I can guarantee you.
I'm not a huge Rodgers fan. I'm just saying it was to me. You have to play the guy that gives you the best chance to win. I understand
not in this case. Keep going, Gary. I'll throw my point afterwards.
There's not always a winning move on the chessboard. There's not always a move that's going to win you the game. But there's a best move that you can make, and you still may lose, but it's the best move. And to me, Aaron Rodgers, even at 41, going on 42 next year, is still going to be the best move unless you can give me a name better. And you acknowledge that I probably can't give you a better name. Correct. So try to, again, this is all speculation. Whether or not he was willing to restructure, how much of a pay cut, I mean, we don't know. The idea that he was pleading for his job to me seems unreasonable.
With his ego and everything.
A massive ego. He ain't pleading for anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I believe if he had his druthers, he would want to try to fix his legacy in New York, right? I don't have any evidence for this. It's just a feeling I get having heard Rodgers speak for the last 20 years or whatever he's been in the NFL. That's kind of my take on him. If he was willing to do that, I would have played ball with him. I would have said, let's renegotiate. I would have asked him to be the lowest paid quarterback, but let's take a sizable pay cut. Let's come up with something that works for everybody. And we're willing, if you're willing to do this our way, we're willing to have you back, kind of thing. But it has to be our way.
A few things, Gary. I respect your opinion and all that. You said, you mentioned he gives us the best chance to win today. What's the ceiling with Aaron Rodgers next season? 9-8, 10-7, right. And that's the thing, Gary. That goes back to my whole point. There might not be a better option. Correct. There might not be a better option to put out on the field today that gives you a better chance to win than Aaron Rodgers. However, Aaron Glenn, Darren Muji, were clamoring about it during their opening press conference, and they said it so many times, and I thought it was a great point. building sustained success. And I don't think you can do that by paying a 41, soon to be 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers $37.5 million in 2025 and then $63 million in 2026 when he's most likely not even going to be on your roster. Gary, would you rather go 9-8, 10-7, sneak into the playoffs? I can't predict what's going to happen, but probably.
I think let's say 9-8 and miss the playoffs, right? But we get meaningful
that's not
games
worth it,
throughout
though.
December.
That's not worth paying someone $37.5 million this year and 63. Here's the thing, Gary. Aaron Glenn, Darren Muji, they're not like us. They're not diehard fans of this team. They don't know what it's like to go through the past few seasons. The past 14 seasons, excuse me. Not even past 14 seasons. They don't know what it's like. Here's the thing. They're going to come in, and what they want to do, build sustained success. They want to put this team in the best position to win the Super Bowl in a couple years, and you don't do that by paying Aaron Rodgers that amount of money.
Yeah, you have to have the money off the books, right? I get it. And the sooner you get the money off the books, it's better. I'm saying the same thing about the Nets with Cam Johnson and Nick Claxton. Try to get the money off the books any way you can. I get it, right? But the Nets aren't, the Jets aren't in a total rebuild teardown. They're not in the same position.
No.
Like,
they have talent, but they have a lot of holes. It's not the same roster
as the Nets rebuild and the Jets. I don't know if you want to call it a rebuild, but you have a complete patience. I just want to see some wins. Like I just want to see win some dang games. Like that's all I care about, right? Like
that doesn't help the future of the organization. That means, Gary, this is what that means. If you want to take that route, that means this isn't even guaranteed because while there's more to the picture, you just won 5 games with the guy. So let's keep that in mind. The ceiling, in my opinion, is 9-8 next season with Aaron Rodgers. That is the ceiling.
I agree. Ceiling
is 9-8.
9-8.
Yeah.
Is
So Gary, let's say the Jets outperform. They live up to the ceiling, which, as we know, being fans of this team, rarely happens. They live up to the ceiling though. They go 9-8 and they make the playoffs. Then when they move on from Aaron Rodgers and they take that hefty cap hit, fans are going to be going, now what? We just went.
We have a rookie quarterback. Hopefully that next year, which is gonna be making $12 million.
That's a big if, though. That's a massive if. Like this team hasn't been able to hit on a quarterback, and this team. Let's be real. Besides, really, Joe Namath, this team has not had a franchise quarterback. This team has never had a franchise quarterback before, and the team. So it's hard to just say, okay,
Pennington, but he was always hurt. So I would agree. Right.
Sorry, who'd you say?
Pennington, but he was always hurt. So
yeah, but he's not like a Josh Allen. He's not up. He was a solid quarterback, but he's not up to that pedigree.
He's not a. He was not a. Well, he had some years where he was a top 10 quarterback. But
for sure. I'm not saying he was a bad quarterback. I'm not saying he was a bad quarterback. I'm not saying Vinny Testaverde was a bad quarterback. I'm not saying Ken O'Brien was a bad quarterback. By the way, Ken O'Brien, if he wasn't drafted before Dan Marino, fans would like him so much more because he was a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback. He was able to come in and put together a few solid seasons. So again, finding the franchise guy is super important. I agree 1000%, but I think bringing Aaron Rodgers back next season just is delaying the inevitable of paying him that money, moving on and trying to win a Super Bowl. That's the way I view it.
The last thing I want to throw at you, Jaxson Dart. I'm not opposed to drafting Jaxson Dart. I like Dart more than I dislike him. I'm opposed to taking him at 7, right? If you can trade down to 25 and get a bunch of draft capital and draft him at 25, look, the team's got a lot of holes. It's got talent, but it's got holes.
Not take someone at 7, or make your pick at 7, and then trade, or just flat out trade back. You don't have.
I don't think this draft is top heavy. I think it's bottom heavy. So I'd rather have a bunch of 2s than a 1 because I don't think the guy at 1, like Tyler Warren, is good. I don't think he's a game changer. T-Mac. If T-Mac was drafted last year, he's the 5th receiver off the board. Like, I don't think he's a bad player, but I don't think this draft is loaded at the top. So I'd rather trade down and get a bunch of picks and just fill up a bunch of holes that we have than just draft at 7. Like, if you said you could draft at 7, or you could draft at 25 and 42 or 44, right? Like, you get a bunch of these other picks. I'd rather do that than just.
It depends who's on the board at 7. Like if you're telling me Ted McMillan's on the board, you take Ted McMillan. You're telling me Mason Graham's on the board, you take Mason Graham.
Mason Graham, I agree with, but he's good. He's gone. Mason Graham's not at 7.
I think he's going to go 5 to Jacksonville. He's going to go 5 to Jacksonville is where they're picking. Here's where I am on Jaxson Dart. I am very low on him, Gary, and there's a chance that I go even lower on him once I look more into Dylan Gabriel. Because I'm telling you right now, Gary, if Dylan Gabriel was 6'2", he would be the quarterback 1 in this year's class. I'm telling you, the height is the massive concern. The arm strength could use some. Here's my comp for Dylan Gabriel.
I don't
Think
see a
more
pro
athletic
quarterback.
Tua with a little less arm strength. Think of that.
I'm not a Tua guy. Like I think Tua sucks, bro. I think Tua sucks.
I understand that, but here's my thing with Jaxson Dart. Again, the whole thing, I'm big on the reason Will Howard's my quarterback 2 this year is the whole pro level offensive scheme. You're able to throw him in right away. Jaxson Dart, you're going to basically, your whole argument with Jalen Milroe, except a different concept. You're going to need to take Jaxson Dart and teach him how to play quarterback at the NFL level.
Agreed. No,
That's what you're going to need to. He's going to need to sit for 1 full season before you see anything out of him. Anything. Very, very slow.
That's why it would have been nice to have Rodgers. I'm just saying. That's why it would have been nice to have Rodgers for one more year and then Dart.
Understood. And then what I was going to say, the other thing I was going to say about Dart, very, very slow to read defenses right after the snap. When pressure bears down, panics. I'm not saying he's.
I don't see that last part. I agree with that. That he's slow to read defense. I don't agree with the panics part at all. I think he stands in.
He stands in, but he is. My bad. He stands in. I should have worded that differently. He stands in, but he's poor pocket awareness to the point he's unable to pick up when the pocket is collapsing, and then he runs out of options. Again, the whole Lane Kiffin offense, I think Lane Kiffin's a great college coach. I think he would get fried at the NFL level as a head coach. The thing is, he schemes wide receivers open, and you can't run that system at the pro level. So you're going to need to teach him that. Also, not to mention, the top mechanics from Jaxson Dart are very, very impressive for me. If I had to say a nice thing about Jaxson Dart, that's what it is. His upper body mechanics are great, but his lower body, when you watch him throw, is just overall an absolute mess when you think about it. So the 4 quarterbacks I like over Jaxson Dart, let's see exactly. So Cam, obviously, Will Howard's my quarterback 2, Shador's my quarterback 3, Kyle McCord's my quarterback 4, and Jackson's my quarterback 5. I just think those guys are able to come in at the NFL level and make an impact quicker than Jaxson Dart is.
So no Quinn on that list.
Quinn
is lower. He's out of the top 5.
Quinn is 7 for me.
All right.
Quinn is 7.
I don't disagree with top 5. I just disagree with the order. Like I would say Cam 1. I'd probably put Dart 2. Probably.
Wow.
McCord 3. Howard 4. Like I don't even hate Shador Sanders. I just don't see any upside in him. Like he's okay. Like
it's because the Sanders last name. He's has charisma with the Rolls Royces, the Lambos, all that. He's a good athlete, but he doesn't awe me.
He doesn't run though, right? Like he's an athlete who doesn't run.
He stands in the pocket forever. He takes way too long. Like that's not going to happen. But what's his name? Myles Garrett coming off the edge. Abdul Carter coming off the edge in his rookie year. TJ Watt is going to rip Shador Sanders' head off from his blind side.
I agree.
And does get the ball out in less than 3 seconds because he holds on to the ball forever. And the whole thing of him throwing, what was it? He was holding on to the ball to take sacks. So apparently from Dion, so he doesn't hurt his passer rating, QBR, whatever, and doesn't, completion percentage.
He led the nation in completion percentage, didn't he? But
you're holding onto the ball.
Right. So like that's why like these stats, like they always say there's lies, like there's outright lies, and then there's stats. Like the stats are worse lies than when you refuse to, it's like the basketball player who instead of putting up a shot with 2 seconds left on the shot clock will pass it to not mess up his field goal percentage. It's like, come on, like what are you doing? Like it's not about your stats. I agree with you. I don't think he sucks. I don't think like Shador is going to be the next Zach Wilson. I just think you're going to draft him. You're going to wake up 2 years from now and be like, wow, I have the 22nd best quarterback in football. Like
that's not worth it.
There's no getting better. Like,
if you're drafting someone in the first round of the NFL draft, Gary, the assumption is they come in and they're an average quarterback right away. I think that's first round value.
The way I assess it is if I'm drafting a quarterback in the first round, I want him to be in the top 12, the top tier quarterbacks.
I'd say 15's fair. Just be
15 makes you average. You want to spend a first round pick on an average quarterback?
Again, it's not about someone coming in. The right away impact is very, very important, but it's about how they develop over time.
No, I mean,
for example,
by the end of his second year, I want him to be in the top 12 quarterback.
Perfect. Like, for example, Drake May, I thought had a very, very good rookie season. Very, very good. And he was an average quarterback at best. Quarterback.
I said when they drafted him, I said that's the best quarterback in the draft class, but he's also not ready, right? Like Jaden Daniels and other guys are probably more ready than him, but I think
Jaden Daniels is going to get killed down the 6'4". What is he? 200
180. 180. He's built like
he's 180. Wait, how much?
6'4", 180. So I think
I thought he was like 20. I thought he was like 200.
I've never seen and that's why Jake gets on me for the sake. I would not have taken him in the first round. I've never seen an NFL player that size. And then he runs like Derrick Henry.
He's RG3. He's RG3.
Yeah, I know. That's what I understand how good he is, and he's excellent. He's not going to have a long NFL career. And just on that, I'm not taking him in the first round. Like I understand how good he is, but I can't risk it. I can't have a quarterback who's breaking down. Now, the rules do protect the quarterback now more than ever, so you got to factor that in, right? You're not really allowed to hit the quarterback anymore, especially if he's a good quarterback. Can't touch him.
Yeah. For sure.
I was watching highlights from Tom Brady early in his career, and they teed off on him. I was like, if you looked at Pat Mahomes that way,
you come with 5 feet between them, and it's a penalty. So yeah. So you said you want them to be top 12, top 15 by the end of the second year if you take someone in the first round. What is day 2 then? Like
second round, middle of the quarterback. So like 13 to let's say 25. And then round 3 is a bottom tier 1, high tier 2. Okay, so that's 26 to let's say 40 in that range. So first round top 12, second round 13 to 25. The middle of the range kind of average quarterbacks. And then day 3, round 3, 26 to 40, and then your 4, 5, 6, 7 are just dart throws. Like if you get anything out of them, great.
Exactly. Yeah. If they play a snap for you next season, that's
fantastic.
That's a win. Yeah. Gary, we have someone on hold who actually wanted to talk to you. So we'll do some dual caller action. Oh, there. Let's get you back. There we go. All right, Dixon has called into the show. Dixon, how you doing?
What's up, Gary? What's up, Connor? How you guys doing?
How you doing?
Good.
Can't complain.
I can't stand these people in the chat talking about. So when we played Houston, Houston's defense was ranked 8th when we went into that game.
Okay, I thought Aaron Rodgers played a great game that game. I'm gonna be honest. That's one game. So you got me there. Name me another game though where he beat a top 10 defense.
Well, let's go through it. Week 1 got bent
wins, man. Go ahead. Yeah.
Week 2, Tennessee, their defense is mid. I wouldn't say
15,
top 10.
I'd say top 15.
I wouldn't say top 10. Who do we play week 3? Week 3 we went, so we were 2-1 at the start.
It was the Patriots. Yes, Patriots in week 3.
Patriots defense is okay, but Gerard Mayo is
top 15.
Yeah. Week 4.
That's when it all fell apart. Week 4 was the Denver game
where they scored 9 points.
Yeah, it was not good. And then 5 was Minnesota. In London.
Yeah, in London, and then.
But you got to think also like you said, what's the ceiling with Rodgers? But if you think about it with what happened to the defense and what happened with our kicking situation as well, like I know Jake has touched on it millions of times, but if you take into account on what happened that night or whatever, and that night in Minnesota we got smashed, but like the defense, the kicking situation, if that was fixed and if you put Aaron Rodgers the year before in place of Zach, I think we win 10 games, maybe.
I agree, 1,000%. I agree, but still at the same time. Dixon, Gary, both of you guys, I know you were in the boat of trying to you wanted Rodgers back more than you did not want him back for next season. You were in that boat. Thing is, I felt like a lot of people, I'm not saying you guys were like this, but we're talking 10 weeks into the season where it was the prime of, Rodgers is an absolute mess. A lot of people were get him out right away, get him out before the end of the season. And then you watch him put together an okay performance, an average to above average performance against the Miami Dolphins and force them to overtime. Again, a below average defense. You beat them in week 18 where they quit after Denver went up 40 points. And then he beats the Jacksonville Jaguars. So 2 technically, because they played the Dolphins twice, bottom 10 defensive units. And then right after 3 of those games, that feels like everything, the talk of the town is, oh my God, now bring Aaron Rodgers back. Dixon, I'll go to you first. How much impact of those 3 games had on your decision to want to bring Aaron Rodgers back?
Well,
be honest.
Okay, so I want Rodgers back only because, and like you said, sometimes it was good performances, bad performances, whatever. I take into account the defense and the kicking situation, but also with all these backup options like Justin Fields, he has 5 touchdowns in 8 games. Like, you guys need to stop it with Justin Fields. He's okay. He could run. Everyone's like, oh, we have
he has upside at least. That's what I like about Fields.
I got you. Yeah, Brees is more of like an elusive back, right? Braylon Allen's more of like a hit the hole guy. So we have some rushing attack. I think we do need a quarterback that can move. But if you watch Aaron against New England, he was moving before he got his butt beat against Minnesota. And who else did he take a beating from? Denver. So before that, I mean, he was mobile-ish. I mean, he's not Lamar Jackson. He's 41 years old, but like, he was moving around. So if we could get someone, like I said, I wanted Rodgers back. Fields okay. I'm with you, Connor. I'm in the boat of Will Howard.
Yep.
In the draft, I think Jackson Dart. I think it's another Zach Wilson. I think he's shooting up the board. It's a lot of publicity. I think he's just shooting up the boards. I know Gary with his Texas with his Quinn Ewers. I
don't like Quinn. I've been out on Quinn. I wanted him benched at Texas. I wanted Archin. I'm not on Quinn Ewers.
I'm not touching a tackle either, Gary. Williams and Banks, very, very handsy. And I think Banks is going to have to play guard at the next level.
To be completely off topic here, I think when you said Morgan Moses is most likely going to leave, when he left the first time, he was like, oh, I never wanted to leave. And then he comes back, and I was happy to have him back, and now he's leaving again. Like, he didn't want to leave.
I need to find more intel. I'm gonna try to get Connor Hughes on the show to kind of go more in depth. It sounded like what he said. He talked to an agent. That's what it sounded like. But he didn't go in depth of why they're moving on, who wanted to move on. Because at the same time, Morgan Moses, where is he going to get a better opportunity? He's been very vocal. Like I said yesterday, Dixon, when I saw you in the chat, he's been very vocal, doing everything he can to embody what it's like to be a part of the New York Jets. And he seems like someone Aaron Glenn would really, really want in the building, in the sense of him being a veteran presence, a big-time leader, and, trying to help groom the next tackle of the future. So yeah, that does not make sense for me at all.
And I have one more thing for you, Connor, too.
Yep.
You're taking the tight end at 7. That's who you're taking.
If Ted McMillan and Mason Graham are off the board, you can't find a trade partner along with all Abdul Carter's off the board, all the consensus options, then yes, I'm taking Tyler Williams.
Let me ask you a question. Who do you think is going to be a better receiver when it's all said and done? T-Mac or Garrett Wilson?
Ted McMillan, in my opinion.
I think Garrett Wilson clears him. That's why I don't think he's
Garrett Wilson's size is going to hurt him down the stretch if he doesn't put on like 15 pounds over the next few offseasons. Ted McMillan is 6'5", 212 pounds. The best body control you're ever going to see in a receiver. Catches everything within a 10-mile radius. Can, run pristine routes, able to run block. I'm telling you.
If he was in last year's draft class with all those receivers, where does he go?
Who's in last year's class again? Refresh me.
Brian Thomas,
stud.
Roma Dunze, Malik Neighbors. And then Marvin Harrison Jr. And then obviously Brock Bowers, tight end.
Great.
He's basically.
Did somebody say Brock Bowers?
Did somebody say Brock Bowers? So he goes after all those. No, he goes after all those guys. He doesn't go before Brian Thomas.
Rewind to last year. We can't judge based on what we saw.
Everything you like about Brian Thomas, everything you like about T-Mac, Brian Thomas does better.
But again, Gary, we take away the NFL season. We're pretending if we're in the pre-draft process last year.
Yeah.
Like, we can't take into account. I think he goes 3. I'd put Neighbors and Harrison over him. I think Romo Dunze has the same exact skill set, just an inch shorter than Ted McMillan. The problem is I just think Ted's overall more productive. I would, going back to last year, I would take Ted over Brian Thomas Jr., but not knowing what he would do his first NFL season. Like, if I knew that he was going to put up those numbers during his rookie season, I would have obviously taken Brian Thomas Jr., but it's hard to, kind of rewrite history.
Roma Dunze was an animal last year. The year before at Washington. Like, T-Mac is good. Like, I'm not saying he's not good. I'm just saying, like, I don't think like he's a number 1 receiver. I think he's a number 2. So I'm going to spend a 7th overall pick on a guy that I don't even think is going to be the best receiver on my team.
You got to beef up the core, though. You only have 1 receiver. You only have 1 rosterable NFL receiver in Garrett Wilson.
That's like Jaden Daniels at receiver. I love Garrett. But like you said about his size, I
gotta drop off, guys. I gotta go.
Gary. Have a good night. Dixon. Yeah, have a good one, Gary. Dixon, sorry, what were you saying?
I love Garrett. Don't get me wrong.
He's my favorite Jet.
I want to be a Jet forever. Love Garrett.
Right here. All Garrett on the first row. Right,
literally. Love Garrett. But he's like Jaden Daniels at the receiver spot, dude. He needs to put some pounds on for sure.
Yeah. Again, Dixon, there were some plays on, like, it was 1st and 10 in the at their opposing 10-yard line in the red zone, and it would be stopped by contact. But we're talking about a cornerback coming full speed at Garrett, and he would just push him back 20 yards. And obviously, it was forward progress, so it didn't have to matter. It was after the play. But I was like, wow, that really just goes to show how light Garrett Wilson is. What is he? 6'1", 185, something like that. Let me check that. Again, the height and the weight, the 6 foot. He's 6 foot 192. That's wow. Again, that's not sustainable in my opinion.
No.
Down the stretch.
Well, you got to get him. You got to get Garrett mid-feet. You got to get him in the middle of the field. You can't.
Exactly.
Listen. Alan Lazard, he's leaving. He's gone. But he did drop a lot of stuff. But there was something like the Hail Mary. He's a physical guy. Like we need someone like a more physical receiver. We have Garrett, which could get open in the middle of the field or sometimes down the sideline if he's really open and he's out there. But we need a big body. Like I wish Mike Williams worked out. I really do. I really wish
he would have been great.
He would have been, but he didn't. So it's now what do we do? Devontae's gone. I mean, and I get it because the cap thing, whatever, and he wants to play with Aaron. Everyone's saying, "Oh, should we bring Carr? Maybe he'll stay." I don't want. Carr.
No,
I don't want anything to do with Derek Carr.
He's 34 and he moves like a 74-year-old. I can't with the Derek Carr conversation.
I'd rather Jameis Winston. At least it'd be fun.
I'd take Jameis Winston. I'd take Taylor Heineke.
Yeah,
I would take Derek barely over Kirk, but not by much. I just don't think there's anything. You're not gonna. Here's the thing. At least you're gonna get upside in Justin Fields. You're gonna get upside. I know you said no to Malik Willis, but you're gonna get at least upside in Malik Willis. You know what you're getting in Kirk Cousins and Derek Carr at this point in their career, and in my opinion, it's bottom 10, maybe average quarterbacks. You're not getting much.
Before Kirk got to Atlanta, I don't think, and Chat's probably going to fact check me. I'm not sure. I don't think there's any game where he threw like he had those all those picks in that game. There was a couple games he had all these picks and like one touchdown, all these picks. I don't think he's had a stretch in his career really like that until he got to Atlanta. I knew he threw 500 yards one game.
Yeah. Well, Kevin O'Connell was his head coach. The Jets don't have Kevin O'Connell.
Yeah, no.
Aaron
and that's
Glenn
what I'm saying. That's people who are campaigning for Sam Darnold. Like he's such a system quarterback. Like. Look at what he did in Carolina. Nothing. Did with us. Nothing. Went to San Fran, sat behind Shanahan for a year, went to Kevin O'Connell, and thrived. I think he needs to stay there. I think he's a system guy. I think if Sam Darnold goes somewhere else, he's going to revert back to his old ways. He's going to start seeing ghosts again, and I don't think he's going to be what we saw this year.
1,000%. Like Kevin O'Connell, Dixon could make you and I look great at the quarterback position.
Yeah, probably.
Same goes for Kyle Shanahan. Like everyone, I think everyone, hypes up Brock Purdy a little too much. You saw what happened when his receivers went down, but let's say Brock Purdy was on the Jets. I don't think he, receives nearly as much, not only hype, but accomplishes as much as he did, bringing the team to the, the conference championship game. Just because Kyle Shanahan and Kevin O'Connell are able to, scheme their offense no matter who the quarterback is. They're just offensive geniuses. They really are. So, the quarterback future for the Jets is certainly going to be interesting, whether they take the trade route, free agency route, draft a guy. Here's the thing, Dixon. I want them to draft a guy, Will Howard, a Kyle McCord, Curtis Rourke from Indiana is a name I'm really starting to like, Dylan Gabriel, Jalen Milroe, but I don't want them to come in and start right away. I'm really intrigued to see what could happen if you have Tyrod Taylor as your starter. You don't want to sign a veteran or trade anyone. Like, the ideal plan for me is you see a rookie in 5 starts next season. That's the ideal plan if you draft a rookie quarterback for me.
I haven't looked into Gabriel much.
He impressed me just based on because a lot of people hated on him for his height right away. So I was like, should I watch him? And then I watched him. I was like, if he's 6'2", he's the number 1 overall pick.
How tall is Dylan Gabriel? He's
5. They have him listed at 6 foot, but on Bleacher Report. But he's
like Bryce Young.
Closer to Kyler Murray.
What's Bryce Young? 5'10"?
Bryce Young is probably 5'11". I think he is. Bryce Young height 5. You're right. He's 5'10". Kyler Murray, what is again? These heights are all off though.
That's another thing. Kyler Murray. Everyone's talking about Kyler Murray coming to the Jets. I don't want Kyler Murray.
I would trade 7 for him, but that's basically it.
You would trade the 7th pick?
Yeah, you're not getting anyone. Here's the thing. It sounds
You'd have
really.
to shoot me. I wouldn't do it.
It sounds really, really rich right away. Wow, you're giving up the 7th overall pick for Kyler Murray. Wow, that's crazy after you think about it. But here's the thing. Who are you getting at 7 that has the potential to make a greater impact on your franchise than Kyler Murray?
Warren.
Quarterback is the most important position.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. But
Kyler Murray's a top 10 quarterback.
If you see it through, I don't know. If you
He's
see
top 10 this year.
Okay, this year when he put the controller down. If you look into it, we need tight end bad.
Yep.
Bad, right? We need tight
Agreed.
end bad. I like Will Howard. You like Will Howard.
Mhm.
We can get into this. Tyrod, Will Howard, maybe. Okay, you got that spot filled for now. I think we still need extra help, but that's whatever. We got Brees, Braylon, and Davis. And then we got, if we get tight end and Garrett, then we still need to do another, maybe a free agent pickup. Everyone's talking about Chris Olave. I don't know where it's coming from. I wouldn't mind Chris
They put
Olave,
some
but
like unknown sports book put out some Chris Olave trade odds, and the Jets were at the top of
yeah,
the list. So I think
yeah.
that's what it is. Why would they like even if he demands a trade? Why would Kellen Moore want to trade him? It just doesn't make sense to me.
I don't know. I don't know why Kellen Moore took that job. I wouldn't take that job.
I thought they were
That
gonna
job's
get
a
Mike
mess.
Kafka.
That
I thought
job's
they
a
were
mess.
gonna get like Mike Kafka, the Giants' offensive coordinator, or something. They're so lucky that they pulled a genius, an offensive genius in Kellen Moore. I appreciate the call, Dixon. I think a
Yeah.
Will Howard, Tyrod Taylor, Jordan Travis quarterback group next season will look great if you can get Tyrod to start 11 games, 12 games, which I think might be a bit of a stretch. Here's the thing: whoever we draft, I want to see in at least 2 starts next season, minimum.
Before you go, everyone's sleeping on Jordan Travis. I know he hasn't practiced once, whatever, but sometimes it's the craziest things that happen that make the crazy. I would just rather keep him on, put him on the practice squad, see what he could do, whatever.
Someone's
Look at
gonna
Brock
sign him
Purdy.
if you put him on the practice squad.
Well, look at Brock Purdy, who's Mr. Irrelevant, and he's a system quarterback too, but
Yeah,
he's okay. Like Jordan Travis could be
1000%.
something that we don't know about.
Agreed. The thing is, I like Jordan Travis. I've made that pretty clear. I've had enough with fans banking on him to be the future
No,
for the New York Jets.
You can't. You don't know what it's going to be.
Exactly. Dixon, appreciate the call.
Yes, sir. You got it.
Have a good night. Dixon, yes. Checking in here on the show. Second call of the night. Appreciate you tuning in. Smash the like, subscribe to the channel. Keep the questions coming. We're going to wrap up in a little, though, so last chance to get your questions in. Last chance to call into the show with the pinned comment at the top of the chat. Our Lions fan, David D, comes in with a $10 super chat. He's a Lion. We'll get a Jets chant. Jets. David, thanks so much for the $10. Oh, it was a question for Gary. Says Gary, last 15 to 20 years, which quarterbacks did he rate as the top prospects? Great discussion. Get Connor and Gary. David, thanks so much for the $10. A few more raffle tickets for you. Appreciate all your support as always. I'm so annoyed I didn't see this when Gary was on. You know what, David? I'm gonna write this down. I'm going to keep StreamYard open after the show. I'm going to write it down in my notes app. Next time I have Gary on, I'm going to ask him that question for you, David. I appreciate the $10, and I appreciate all your support on the show. As always, like I said, guys, last chance to get your questions in. Last chance to call into the show with the pinned comment at the top of the chat. We're going to wrap up here shortly. Keep it going with your calls, though. Our guy, Lay Sal, is next up here on the hotline. Lay Sal, what's going on?
Doing good, doing fantastic. I'm
Great to
liking
hear.
I like the rumors that are going around about Justin Field. To be honest, I am liking that. Like I feel like my bold prediction of this team, I think they're gonna go after Justin Fields and they're not going after a quarterback in this draft. I think in my honest opinion, I think Aaron Glenn wants to go the Jared Goff aspect and be like go after Justin Fields, have him be the bridge for a little bit, and go and get a quarterback in some draft in the future. Might be next year. It might be the next year after that if he goes extremely well. If it goes extremely well for Justin Fields, but I don't think you're gonna rush in to get a quarterback in this draft. In getting a quarterback, I think that.
Here's the thing, Lay Sal. Drafting a quarterback this year doesn't necessarily mean, first off, he's going to be the starter next year, and he has this crazy long, 15-year plus future with the Jets. I think this simply just means that, the Jets are trying to maybe catch lightning in a bottle with someone and see what they have on day 3, just taking a flyer.
Wait, I meant first round.
I meant
first round. Like I don't think they're gonna rush into getting a quarterback.
There's no quarterback
in draft first round. Like this is your franchise guy.
Cam
I
Ward's
think they're
the
going
only
to
one
go with Justin Fields.
Yeah, Cam Ward's the only
Justin Fields and let's let him go.
For sure. Cam Ward's the only quarterback I have a first-round grade on, and he's not going to be there at 7. And if he is there at 7, I'm going to have concerns about why other teams passed on him. All the quarterback-needy teams that need a starting quarterback that decided to pass on Ward and allowed him to fall to 7. So certainly not a quarterback in the first round. Lay Sal, one more question here before we let you go. Jaxson Dart thoughts. Fire away.
Jaxson Dart. I'm a little bit interested because in my sense, and this is not like I meant best on like like when it comes to his head, like the confidence. He reminds me a lot of Baker Mayfield. Like I feel like
Hmm.
he just has so much confidence, so much confidence. Like I don't think it will ever waver. In that sense, I'd like to see him go to the Jets because I feel like that's been the problem with Jet quarterbacks is that their confidence just wavers over the New York media or the pressure of being in New York, and I just feel like Jackson Dart, he seemed like that confidence never wavers. But would I take a first on him? Probably not though. Still. But you telling me he falls into like the second or third round? Like I'll take a flyer on him just because of his confidence and the fact that it doesn't seem like it wavers too much, and that maybe that's what you need as a quarterback in New York to have that
Like,
confidence that just never wavers, just nonstop. I think I'm the best, and I know I'm the best, and shit. Maybe you need that in New York.
Sal, appreciate the call. As always, you got any final thoughts?
The I hope they do get Justin Fields now. I guarantee I would love to see him on the Jets with Tanner Ainge.
Ladies and gentlemen, our guy Sal checking in here on the program. Great call as always. Appreciate all your support on the show. Going to wrap up here soon. Over an hour in here on this Wednesday evening. So last chance to call into the show. Pin comment at the top of the chat. Last chance to get your thoughts, question, comment, thoughts in. We're going to wrap up here soon. Sharon says McCord at 108. If he's there at 108, I would love to pull the plug. Thing is, I think he's going at the mid to end of round 3. I don't think there's any chance he falls in the 4th round, but if he's there, you'd take him. And I could see Tanner Einstein really, really liking McCord early in the draft, given the fact that look what him and the Lions were able to facilitate the past few years with Jared Goff as at quarterback. Look at that. And my comp for Kyle McCord is Jared Goff. They're the same player. I'm telling you right now. Like I said, appreciate you all tuning in, though. Smash the like, subscribe to the channel. Can't thank you enough for all your support. Back tomorrow, 8 p.m. Supposed to have NFL draft analyst Cole Thompson on, our NY Flight Jets Talk draft guy. But unfortunately, something popped up for him last minute, so he's going to be next Thursday. We're trying to figure something out. Reached out to a few people to try to get on tomorrow. We're going to be on, though, no matter what, so stay tuned for that. I will say we have an interview planned with a very, very big and special ESPN NFL insider. So it might be pre-recorded. I don't know if it's going to be live yet. It might be pre-recorded. So in order for you guys to find out who that is, if it's pre-recorded, and ask them questions, you can join the Discord down below. That's how you're able to find out who our pre-recorded guests are and have the opportunity to ask them questions since it's not going to be live. So join the Discord down below in the description to earn that opportunity. It's right below where it says like, subscribe. It should say description. And then you click that. You could join the Discord. It's completely free. It's a great way to support the show. And it's a great way to get opportunities, to have daily Jets talk with other Jet fans, earn exclusive, get exclusive channel updates, and again, earn the opportunity to ask these people questions. So it would mean the world if you guys could check out the Discord. Like I said, though, every night we're on this channel, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, talking New York Jets. So if you're new, appreciate all your support. And like I said, we're here every night at 8 p.m. talking all things New York Jets. If you're just tuning in, Matt O'Leary, Jets content creator, who did a great job tonight, joined us for the first 25 minutes of the show. So rewind and check that out. He will be on with us the whole offseason every single Wednesday night at 8 p.m. But like I said, every night, 8 p.m., we are here no matter what. So I can't thank you enough for all your support. That'll do it for me here on this Wednesday evening. I am your host, Connor Long, signing off. JTS, Jets, Jets, Jets.